Hello and welcome to another edition of Wander. I'm Andrew Wilcox. Today on the show, we've got an old friend of mine, Nicole, and her business partner, Laura. They are sound therapy practitioners. They have a business called Sound Response Wellness. They also are part of a musical collective called the SoundBody Collective. And what they do is sound therapy. What does that mean? Well, honestly, they can explain it a lot better than I can, but it's actually really, really cool. And I got to try this more myself. At the end of the episode, I put in a 6-minute clip of them performing because they did try to perform at points during the interview, and you can kind of get a good idea of what it's all about. But I highly recommend listening to the last 6 minutes because, there's limits to the microphone that we were using on the other end. I don't think it came through as well as it can. Once again, listen right to the end, listen to the last 6 minutes, and hear what it's all about and how beautiful it can be done. This is a really neat episode. I think, and I'll talk a little bit more about this during the show, we all use music for therapy at times, right? Well, they guide people through that in a really, really cool way. So definitely give this episode a listen. I hope you like it. I dug it. They're incredible and awesome people. But I'll let Nicole and Laura talk and tell you a little bit more about it in just a few seconds.
Welcome to Wander with Andrew Wilcox.
And we'll start with the big question. What is sound therapy?
So that sound therapy is based on the understanding that sound, frequency, vibration can positively impact the body and promote healing and well-being.
How did you come to sound therapy? How did each one of you come to sound therapy? Because one thing I find interesting is that both of you have very different backgrounds. And like Nicole, you come to it as very much a musician. And Laura, you're a highly trained social worker and psychologist coming to sound therapy from kind of different directions, but both seeing the value in it. How did you each come to sound therapy? Nicole?
Sure. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Just a correction there. I'm a psychotherapist, so it's a social worker psychotherapist. So 2 years ago, it'll be 2 years in May, I went to my first sound bath with another sound therapy practitioner in the city of Toronto. And my friend suggested that I go. And the quartz crystal bowls were featured at this sound bath. And I had this really phenomenal experience that I've never had before in my life, in which I felt a deep sense of serenity, stillness, and my entire body just relaxed. And I had the best night of sleep that I'd had in the last 5 years. So I couldn't stop talking about it. I kept calling people and being like, I heard these quartz crystal bowls and I don't know what happened, but I felt like, so at peace without having to meditate. And I felt so calm. And it was just this really crazy, energetic experience. And then I immediately went and did some research online and signed up for the sound therapy course at the Institute for Traditional Medicine. So it was one of these things where I had this experience, and then I think within a week, I was like, I have to learn everything, that I can about this. And then I took the course, and that's how I met Nicole. Mm-hmm. And then our journey starts from there, and we developed this business. But it was a very profound experience for me. And it's become a real tool in my life now to help me get really regulated if my day's been really stressful. I just play those quartz crystal bowls, and within moments, I'm feeling really calm and sort of in the present moment. And that vibrational medicine just settles me right down. So it was a very profound thing for me. And I'm so happy that I found it.
And Nicole?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I came to sound therapy as a singer initially. So music's always been a really big part of my life, and using voice has been a journey for me. From being a really shy child to, now using voice in a way that helps people, because I've always wanted to be a closet psychotherapist. So when I met Laura in the program, I was like, oh my God, I need to talk to this girl, and we need to join forces. So that's, I mean, in a nutshell, kind of how I come to it. But I've got a lot of family background, playing music with family. Shout out to Drum Mama Studios in Vancouver, who's an incredible drum healer. And when I made some life changes about 4 years ago, I started exploring how I could incorporate sound into my life in a deeper way to help people, and found the program at the Institute of Traditional Medicine, and got certified and met Laura and others. And now it's becoming this incredible growing part of each other's lives. And we bring our respective professional experiences into the work.
And when we went to the Institute for Traditional Medicine, we found 3 other students, and we formed a study group. And so every week we kept practicing on each other, and, you know, trying out different instruments and tools. So, this is what the didgeridoo does. This is what the frame drum does. This is what the quartz crystal bowls do. So we just also landed with this great group of students, and we're able to evolve as sound therapy practitioners together. So it was just a wonderful moment in time. It still is. It was just like landed with the right group of people that really wanted to learn this. And we kept sharing, you know, everything that we were learning, like the books we were reading, and it just grew. It just kept growing. And yeah, it's definitely a deep passion.
Yeah, we were initiated. I was just basically been initiated into a lifelong of learning on this, because there's so many levels to it. There's hard science. There's thousands of years of cross-cultural history around this. There's a little bit more of the spiritual woo-woo thing, if you're into that. But to Laura's point earlier, you don't need to know how to meditate. You don't need to, quote, be spiritual to benefit from sound. If you know how to breathe, if you can close your eyes, and you can sit down comfortably, lie down comfortably, that's all you need to know how to do is listen. It's really, sound therapy is an exercise in deep listening, but there's no grading. There's no wrong way to receive sound therapy.
Okay. I was thinking about this earlier, and as a person that doesn't know much about this at all, and tell me if this statement would be considered to be true. If popular music was a street drug, this would be like a prescription drug.
That's such a cool way to. That's such a really interesting way to.
Right,
that is cool.
Because I think, like, a lot of us, I use music for therapy for years, right? It's always been my therapy. You know, you sit and you pick your favorite song and you use it for focus. But I mean, some songs are great and some songs are not, and some types of music get you in certain moods and sometimes music puts you in other moods. But it seems to me the goal of this music is far more specific, right? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there are hundreds of studies on the power of music and what it does to the brain and how it puts people into meditative states. But yes, sound therapy has a goal of resonating a certain way within the person's body that is conducive to helping them come into deeper states of relaxation or feel physical releases or emotional releases. And Nicole can speak to a little bit more about what happens to the brain when we're engaging in this type of therapy.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what the vibration of instruments such as the quartz crystal bowl or even drum, what it does is your brain waves actually entrain to the frequency of the vibration. So you can physiologically impact the brain to shift its brain waves into more relaxed states. So that's, you know, there's that intention of wanting to deliver, to your point, like a therapeutic experience. It's not so much a performance. It's more of an intention-filled soundscape that we're often working on certain elements that the client may have talked about, certain stressors, or there may be other things generally going on seasonally or weather-wise that, you know, we can use and incorporate into our protocol.
Yeah, it becomes like a treatment modality, right? So we're using sound as a way to help people, do some healing in this sort of really non-invasive way where they come back and they tell us all sorts of things. Like, I felt like my back release. I had really pleasant memories from my childhood surface. I had visual experience, like lots of colors. I felt emotional release. So it's another way to get to healing. My training is somatic and talk therapy. So it's another way for people to like get reconnected with themselves. Often, we're doing it at a group. So there's that element too, feeling supported by the group around you, but not having to participate or be with the group particularly if we're doing like a sound bath. So it's a treatment modality. Really,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it can be one-on-one, and it can also be in groups. So it's kind of a way of building community, and coming together and giving yourself permission to just do nothing for an hour,
right.
But you're doing something for yourself, but it's actually really hard for people to just lie down and be with themselves.
It's near impossible for me. It's near impossible for me. And I was, I attempted a float tank about a month ago.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
And I was thinking about when I was listening to some of their videos that you guys have, I was like, man, I would love to have had this in the float tank. Because I think it would have been a crazy experience altogether. Because they had like random music, but I also found that I don't know what the word is. The music that you guys were playing seemed to go a little bit deper. In the thing,
absolutely.
Like even from watching it on a video, it seemed and felt like it went a little bit deeper. And so it was a bit of a different way. So I was thinking in the float tank, it would be a really crazy experience to have those two things paired together. But I was also wondering, like, what's the difference between an individual experience, like you with a one-on-one client, and with a group experience? Is there a feeling of being a part of that community, of that group? And what are the benefits of each one of those? So when it comes to a singular person, what's the benefits of having a one-on-one therapy session for this?
So maybe I'll speak to that and you can speak to the group.
Sure.
So a sound therapy practitioner, if you're doing an individual session, you would meet with that client and you have a conversation about, what's going on in your life. So the person says, I'm really struggling with some grief, or I need to make a decision about something in my career. And then the sound therapy practitioner creates a protocol using different types of tools to inform how they're going to create that sound bath. So we call on traditional Chinese medicine. We call on some stuff around the chakra system. We call on common things from neurobiology, maybe helping that person if they're feeling really anxious, feel more grounded, and doing some deep breathing as they're listening to sound. And it's a very intimate experience one-on-one. Sometimes people might cry during an individual session, and so the sound therapy practitioner is not a therapist. We're not doing psychotherapy or counseling with you, but we're going through this like 45-minute to 1 hour journey of sound with you, and really just letting you come to your own understanding of what's going on for you. So people kind of come out of those sessions in their own way. So you're being really taken care of, and it's very intimate, and it's very supportive. And often people want to come back and do another session once they've had one, because it can be quite profound. People sometimes recall things they haven't thought of in a long time. Or I had one friend who said, I really think I need to end this relationship. Like, I'd done a bunch of stuff with the gong, and she was like, I'm going to go home and end this relationship. Like, it's not working. And I didn't really talk to her much about the relationship or what was going on, but she had this profound experience where she was like, I need to make this change. So it's a very organic process, and the sound therapy practitioner is guiding you through that, but they're not telling you what to do or what to feel.
Yeah. And even in a group setting, people have their own individual journeys. I have a friend that had never been to a sound bath, enjoyed it, and then 2 days later texts me going, you know what, I think something happened from the back, like something came through the back end, like 2 days later, she's still like processing and like coming through some revelations, personal revelations for herself. So in a group setting, I mean, one-on-one, to Laura's point, you have a bit more of an intake and you understand what's going on emotionally or physically. And in a group setting, you're kind of tapping into the larger intention, which generally is to give people this relaxing state to just experience what it is they're going to experience. But you're always still scanning the room. You know, you're looking one-on-one at the client, but also you're looking at the room. Are people fidgeting? Are some people sleeping? Are some people crying? Are some people, and that happens. It's a very personal experience for individuals. They each kind of go on their own journey. But as a practitioner, when you're working with a group, you are wanting to be aware of just the overall energy of the room.
Yeah. And when people come out, we often do a little bit of voicing or sounding with them. So we might do something really simple, like making the A sound. And people feel really connected with that, because some people don't, but a lot of people do. And we're like, it doesn't matter how you sound, because people have all sorts of hangups about their voice. And somewhere along the line, they got messaging that their voice doesn't sound good. And that's so painful because it's your voice. It's your soul. It's who you are. So in our sound baths, we're like, you know, it doesn't matter the sound, just make it with us. And people love that and they feel really connected. Yeah. And sometimes we feel like we can keep going, but we have to end because, you know, we're coming to the end of the hour. Yeah. And it just sounds beautiful. It sounds like angels, and some people start harmonizing and everybody walks out. No one's ever come up and no one feels more agitated usually at the end of a sound bath. It's the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I always like to think of the fact that music brings order to chaos. That's what music does. And I think, would you say a goal of this is to focus the mind? Or is it to allow it to wander? Because I find a lot of times I really struggle with focusing my mind. And I love to do activities like stand-up paddleboarding, motorcycles. They help me to focus my mind because all of my body is involved in one activity. It allows my mind to find one space. I found floating to be very much the exact opposite. My mind went everywhere in that room, right? I was in pitch black. I heard music. And I was essentially, as they explained, floating. I found it to be that type of experience. So which type of experience would a person have in a sound bath? Would it be a very focused experience, or is it both, depending on the person?
I think it can be both. It's absolutely, you can use sound like as a tool, a mindful tool, and as you find your mind wandering, you delicately kind of shift back to listening, right? You know, if you know how to use your breath, you can kind of use your breath to come back to listening. But with that said, people do have just emotional response or physiological response to the music and or the sound rather, and their minds might be everywhere, you know, but we do find that people get dropped into a state
because they're moving into different brainwave states.
They do drop in somewhere.
Most people start to slow down a bit, and then that's when we start hearing things like, I saw these colors when I heard this voice. That, you know, the voice sounded blue, and they saw colors. Yeah. So most times people are slowing down, kind of in that state between sleeping and waking, that in between zone. A lot of people feel that they're there.
You know, and certain sounds start to kind of, you know, people start hearing things. They're like, oh, is that like a little seashell? Is that, you know, a little creek? You know, like little scenarios start kind of coming up for people. They remember walking through a meadow, or, you know, it's association, free association. Yeah, so it's not so much like, oh, I have to focus my mind on this one point, you know. If you use that in your daily practice, because you have one, wonderful. But other than that, it's really just listen.
See, the instant you picked up that chime, I thought of my grandmother's screen door. That's just that. It wasn't like even just a door. It was like a specific door, my grandmother's door.
There you go.
I can think of going to my grandmother's house. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. So the goal isn't necessarily a type of a focus or a meditation type of idea.
You don't want, people shouldn't feel freaked out around the concept of it's a sound meditation. You do not have to know how to meditate, but it fast tracks you into a meditative state.
And we're kind of talking about two things here. So sound baths are this experience where you're bathed in sound for 45 minutes to an hour. But Nicole and I, which we'll talk about a little bit further at some point, I guess, here, is that we are running a group that does look at people learning how to use sound as a way to get to meditation. So there's like two ways to structure this. One is you just come and you have the sound bath, and the other one is you're participating in a group that's helping you learn how to, train your wandering mind to listen to sound or return to your breath.
And reduce stress. Because you can use it to do that.
And that's the reason why, you guys have so many different ways that you guys are involved in this. You're involved in it as individuals, you're involved in it as a pair, and then you're involved in it as a group of 4 that put on performances for groups. So to achieve all of these goals, each one of these has a specific sort of setup for that. So what is the SoundBody Collective? So what is the SoundBody Collective?
Yeah, so the SoundBody Collective, we like to call ourselves a sound bath band. We're comprised of 4 certified sound therapy practitioners, and together we put on sound bath experiences. So what's really unique about our sound baths is that there's 4 of us, and together we're creating these intuitive, intention-filled soundscapes for public consumption and enjoyment, and hopefully for people's benefit. So far, so good. And it's really a special experience for us as well, the 4 of us, to be able to connect the way we do when we're facilitating. No sound bath is ever the same.
Yeah, we're always challenging ourselves to come up with something new. So this time we're gonna put the concert flute in. Next time we're using the hand pan. Let's do this sounds of the rainforest. So it's wonderful because we're really trying to create these soundscape experiences together, and it's always this beautiful creative process that we do each time to arrive at making one.
And it's always informed by Western science. It's informed by traditional Chinese medicine, just different modalities of around sound. So we like to incorporate different elements into our sound scapes.
But each one of these is created on its own, right? Like there's sheet music for this, right?
There's no sheet music.
There's no specific tracks.
Not yet.
No, not yet. We're looking to do a little bit of that, but certainly we create a roadmap of what our soundscapes, where we're going to journey, and how we transition into different stages of the sound journey and why we're doing things. It's not all random, but certainly when you're in the moment and you're delivering the sound bath, you're tapping into what's going on in the room. So it's quite an amazing experience when, as a practitioner for myself, for example, you feel the call to do something sound wise, and you do it and you feel the release in the room. The breath releases, the whole room, and you're like, whoa, so it's quite an experience, because it's
there's themes.
There's themes.
So we might do like a water theme, right? And so then you might hear like the ocean drum. You might hear the rain sticks, so we often create themes throughout those workshops, or we might set an intention. Well, we do set an intention every time. It's feeling kind of stressful. It's Christmas, so let's try to play things that are really grounding and help promote stillness and quietness and settling.
No Christmas chimes.
No, exactly. No bells. No silver bells.
Exactly. Or, now we're heading into spring. And in traditional Chinese medicine, wood is the element associated. So looking at how can we incorporate wood instruments into the sound baths intentionally and create forest soundscapes that speak to that. So it's really creative. It's just a really wonderful mix of being able to be creative, but intentional and applied with that creativity.
And from your, rock star past, Nicole, like, do you see similarities in the experience of response to the crowd, or is it something completely different? Like, is it different from playing a show?
Well, it's actually a compliment when I put people to sleep now. So, like,
yeah, you don't want anybody to fall asleep in the bar. They probably didn't fall asleep. Probably passed out.
Yeah. If you fall asleep at a sound bath, that's an incredible compliment.
Yeah.
So, it's unique in that performing in a more traditional band setup, it's performing, right? Yeah. Whereas. And you certainly, there's things that I take from my past experience doing that into the sound baths, but it's different in that it's you're applying the sound to. You're not in there for entertainment purposes, but there's something around the musicality. There's something around the trusting that next step is going to come, like trusting the comfort that you're comforted in that moment to just continue that in that sound space. Yeah. There's a certain familiarity that comes with having a more traditional performing experience. But it's a little different.
But I'm sure you've got to have a band structure in some way when you have four of you. Like a single person is performing, but you've got to know sort of what the other people are doing, right? Or is it different than that?
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly, the way we structure the different sections of the sound bath, certain people are the ones playing certain instruments associated with those sections, but, exactly how long they're going to play it for, or exactly what is Laura going to start sounding with her voice, and how am I going to come in and harmonize and amplify that, or vice versa. There's a real organic element to that. But obviously the more we practice together, the more intuitive that becomes. And so that a wonderful compliment from people for us is that it just felt seamless. It felt there wasn't any awkward transitions or wow, the voices really melded, and for us, it happens in the moment too. It's kind of magical sometimes. You can almost second guess where they're going to go. With it.
So like really improv jazz, but it doesn't suck.
Well, sometimes we're making these like elongated vowel sounds. Yeah. And because Nicole has a lot of vocal training and that experience on stage, she may be the one, because we're building our confidence, who is singing that out first, let's say, and then we might be creating melodies on top of it, or she's creating her melodies, and we're just holding the long vowel sound the whole time. And those vowel sounds are known to give people healing experiences. So that's a whole other conversation. But so for sure, her background in music has been extremely helpful. And I think in helping all of us find our voice, because she's been sort of more confident in knowing her own voice because she's done that stage work, and she kind of knows how that works. And I think it's really helped the rest of the band. I mean, they're not with us today, but I think they would agree. So she boldly goes out there and starts singing these beautiful melodies, and then it's all, helped raise our vibration to sing more and to be more engaged. So we just kind of keep getting them better and better. So it's great to have a properly trained musician with this type of vocal experience, for sure.
Awesome. What are the roots of this therapy? Does it come from cultures? Is there a long list of this?
Yeah. I mean, cultures from around the world, thousands of years, have used sound, have used chanting, have used instruments, drum. This goes back to, our heartbeat, really. It's like drum, right? So there's in all oral tradition, there's this element of sound and melody, and cultures around the world, oral and
And people would also sing and dance to, when there was something to celebrate, or when they wanted the crops to grow, or when they wanted rain, or they would make a lot of sound when they were going to go into war. So we've been using sound both therapeutically and as well for different things through the centuries for thousands of years, right?
Because the voice it's not about singing. It's sounding, it's toning, it's clearing for your own body. It's your own healing. The most powerful sound therapy tool, sound healing tool we have is our own voice.
So if I sing after the end of a busy day, just make a long vowel sound,
just,
like
it doesn't have to sound great.
Or something, right? Suddenly my brain that was busy with everything that was going on in the day just disappears. Yeah. So that's what we say to clients. We're like, just learn how to make these simple vowel sounds at home. It's going to feel weird at first, but we're going to get you comfortable here in our workshops, and then see what happens when you do it at home. Because if you can't do that seated meditation and sit there and close your eyes and it's too busy, go home and make, sound yourself for 15 minutes by yourself. And I'm telling you, you'll feel calmer after when you make those sounds, because you're resonating from the inside out, and you're basically helping your whole central nervous system to quiet down. It's fast.
Yeah, it is fast. And that's in our business, Sound Response Wellness, we want to bring that into workplaces and show people that they are able to relax and take a time out using sound.
Because I've done traditional sitting meditation, and it takes a while to learn how to teach that brain to come back to the breath. So there's many different ways of doing seated meditation, but coming home and learning how to just or humming. Humming is another way. I've got a client right now who is really benefiting from some humming when she's feeling really stressed out. She has autism, and she's finding that when she hums, it's a really quick way, because it resonates into the body, to calm herself down. So some people can't sit in meditation. They just can't do it, right? And we say, go meditate, and they're like, but I can't meditate, right? I don't know. It's too hard. I don't want to sit with my busy mind.
Am I doing it right? It's like, that's the pressure, it's become this kind of competition of such, right? So we want to educate people that, if you have the blessing of hearing, and that's all you need to know that to do is just open your ears.
Is there instruments that an individual could pick up that would help them do this on a regular basis?
Anything as simple as chime-like. These are called Koshi Chimes. They were designed by a gentleman in France, and each one, there's 4 in total, and they each have beautiful circular melody and overtones. So even just playing a chime like this for a while and just listening to it, calming the mind, that's the beginning of sound therapy, self-administering sound, or a crystal bowl if you want to.
So this is a G bowl. And then we could just make a sound with it. So we can practice with this G bowl, and then you can make a sound with it.
That was a little dissonant there, getting some creepy crawlies out. So that's the other thing. It's we certainly want to create harmony. Sometimes you want to create a little bit of dissonance and a little bit of a binaural beat, which is when 2 inputs are almost the same, but not quite. So there's, let's say, 10 hertz in between the 2 of them, and it tricks the brain into having to communicate. Both sides need to communicate.
So this is a G, and we're also listening to a D bowl. And then you can add your voice on top of it. You want to create something there? get us started.
Yeah. I was digging it.
Do that for the rest of the podcast. I was going to break out into making some sounds. But it can be simpler than that. Yeah. You could just be at home going like, so let's just do like an ass sound. So with no instrument even though, just the two of us would just go like, take a deep breath in and get our diaphragm opened up a bit more. So we'll breathe in slowly through the nose and letting it sound out. So it doesn't have to be complicated.
It doesn't.
I already feel confident.
And you can do it yourself.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. What were you saying there?
I was just saying I felt calmer already. I dug it. Yeah.
Yay, great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'd be scared to try it myself, though. I'm a little worried. Am I going to have to, after the podcast, I think I'm going to have to sit down and try to attempt it myself. I don't know.
Well, that's what's beautiful about the workshops we're running is we're helping people learn how to make these really simple sounds themselves. And we hope that what they learn in the workshop, they're going to take, on the road, use in their house, use before they go to work or after work or, I think
it's funny. I think that sometimes we're very, very comfortable with having sound release, like when we're at the gym or when we're playing sports. And there's a reason we do that. And we do that to kind of release a bit of that energy. But then I think a lot of us are very uncomfortable with doing that in a home situation, like just sitting on the couch. But it still helps. It still does the same thing as it does when you're, playing a sport or, super excited about something and you're having a great time and you just want to yell or scream. And that's not a weird thing. It's a strange human response. But I think we're less comfortable with doing that when we're alone and just feeling tense. But I think it's just as important at that point. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And I think if you're nervous, you can just start more simply. So by humming. So let's just do a little bit of humming. If you don't want to sing, so we'll just do a basic humming. Yeah. I'm going to go. Okay. So we breathe in again and then,
See, I love it when you guys hit a harmony because you can. You guys have a great harmony together, and you can feel it, right? You can totally feel it. Yeah, no, you can totally feel it. It sounds great together, and I can see how that can be super calming for people. And to me, it seems like something I could do easier than quiet meditation because I lack the ability to be quiet. It's not something that comes naturally to me for long periods of time. I've tried meditation in the past. Doesn't work. I remember as a kid, I bought a record, Benedictine monks.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was like a surprise big hit back in the 90s. And a lot of people ended up buying it, but it was a similar reason. I would listen to it for a similar reason to what you guys are talking about. It was a lot of that type of chanting and all that type of stuff, and I found it to be a very calming record back when I was a kid.
Nice.
That's so interesting that you found that. Do you know what I mean? Like even as a kid, maybe you were looking for something that you could do that would like help settle you. So often we have these resources, we just don't know about them, right? Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a tangent, but it's closer to it's a part of your other professions. But definitely, they didn't have a lot of anxiety help back in the 90s when kids had anxiety. Sure. You didn't have it. Definitely. I would have been diagnosed. I would have been on medication for sure today. Yeah. But back then, we didn't have anything. No, but I was definitely seeking those types of things when I was a teenager, trying to calm my mind, all the ridiculous worries we have when we're a kid that you find out are completely pointless back in the day. All those things we worried about in high school, completely no purpose, right? But we're so intense and so important and so hard to handle when you're a kid. That was one of the things. And I bought it from Columbia House. That's how long ago it was. I still don't think I've even paid them for it, but... I bought it from Columbia House. I probably still have a bill out there. But
Was it cassette?
no, it was still CD. I'm still in the CD member.
Still younger than.
Oh, you're still younger. Okay, we're Gen X. That's what
I'm Generation X.
Oh, right, you're. And Xennials.
Okay, I'm a Gen X.
Yes, we would be Zillennials, but it's no. I'm a generation. Well, those Zillennials, the middle thing, the weird, the 70 whatever to 82 thing. 82. Yeah. That's where I'm at. Which is like the most hipster thing to do, to say I was a millennial before millennials were millennials, but like it really is. But that's where we're from, and that was a time when mental health, we didn't really talk about it.
It's so true.
There was definitely sometimes conversations about suicide. The biggest conversation I ever had about suicide when I was a kid was when Kurt Cobain died.
Sure.
Right. Oh, I know exactly.
I never forget that experience. I was in grade, I think it was 7, but I remember our teacher being really, really, really concerned about us and worried that one of us might attempt suicide. So we had a huge conversation with us about it, and we were talking about heroes in that class. It was about Greek mythology and heroes. And so she brought this whole thing about Kurt Cobain in, and was he a hero? And even though he was a hero, was his act heroism and understanding, all of that stuff. And she wasn't the most progressive, but I'll never forget that conversation. But that was one of the biggest conversations I ever had about mental health in junior high and high school. And now it's great that it's a much, much, much bigger conversation, and people are doing a lot more when it comes to their mental health. And that's why it's great to see the growth in ideas like this, because this is a great thing for mental health. And I'm an individual that has complete no ability to focus on nothing. This seems to be something that gives people the ability to focus on something that doesn't take away from their ability for their mind to wander and be free and relax. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's super accessible. It's super accessible, and the more that you do it, the more you will find that your mind does calm, that your mind is meditating.
Like, we have tuning forks here. Like, I'll just play them really quickly because I'll give you an example, right? So this is a C and a G, which makes the perfect fifth. And when you, these are Biosonic tuning forks, and when you ding these together, they create an incredible vibration. And unfortunately, you're in Alberta, so I can't put these up near your ears. When you put them up to your ears, they deliver this incredible calming sound. So
let's see what happens over the interweb.
Yeah, let's see.
Nice. I think I'm definitely hearing it. I don't think I'm getting as much of the resonance as it normally would. I think that's where it's missing, because it comes off really great at the start, but then it trails off really quickly, and I don't think I'm hearing the full resonance of it. Well,
the reason why I brought them up is just because they're so quick. You know how you said this is a quick way? You just have a set of tuning forks, you ding them a couple times, put them up by your ears, and you will just get this sound wave delivered really immediately, and you'll settle down.
You shift gears. You shift down from fourth to third to second. Just chill out a little bit.
Nice. Laura, has doing this changed the way that you look at some of the other things that you do, like psychotherapy and social work? Has it informed that at all, or has it just helped you to deal with some of the stresses of that?
It's done. That's a really wonderful question. It's done both. So sound therapy has become a tool for my own life. When, I'm busy working with people all day, it's a really fast way for me to kind of just clear out that day and to get grounded and settled. There's lots of research coming out on this nerve called the dorsal vagus nerve, which runs from the back of our brainstem down throughout our body, and it touches all the organs on the way down. And there's research that's becoming, clearer and clearer every day, that when we sing or chant or hum, that it helps to stimulate this nerve and settle your body. So it is informing my work. And I have a bunch of clients where we actually start the session with a 5-minute meditation with sound. So I'll play a Quartz Crystal Bowl recording that Nicole and I made, or I may bring the tuning forks in the session, or, a metal bowl. And before we get into doing the work, we may just settle for 5 minutes in this really easy sound meditation. And many of the clients are finding it super helpful because they're coming in off the TTC or they have 7 responsibilities and they're kind of exhausted. And we might just breathe and get our bodies regulated and get ourselves back into this less anxious physiological state, and then we'll do the session. So it's changed everything for me on a personal level, and as well as the work that I do with clients. And if clients don't want to start with a sound meditation, that's fine too, but more often than not, once they start hearing these instruments, they're like, yeah, and they get really curious and they ask for it. Now, can we start with like a little bit of the metal bowl or the tuning forks or whatever? Yeah,
just kind of a reset for the brain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Our minds get so busy, right? Yeah. And we're like, as you said, your mind, like I can be the same way where it just keeps generating thought after thought after thought after thought. And you need to interrupt your big computer processor in your brain and just, hey, let's reset, let's slow down,
Yeah. Well, and I haven't lived in a major city in a long time, but I still remember the amount of noise pollution that you've got to go through on a day in Toronto. There's a lot. You got to kind of clean that out. You got to cleanse the palate of streets full of people and constant movement, constant noise, neighbors' dogs. That happens too. You got to clear a lot of that out. And I think it seems like a great way to reset that. What is it about the Quartz Bowl? Like, is there something to do with that as an element or whatever that would be?
Yeah, it's the resonance that is the way it vibrates. It's essentially the pure tone that these quartz crystal bowls emit. It's a very, very pure drone sound, and these bowls are mined from the earth, right? Yeah. The quartz is mined from the earth. Yeah, it's heated 4,000 degrees. It's heated. I believe they first realized, these little quartz bowls can work in the creation of computers. They started an element that came out of creating computers were like these little quartz kind of bowl things that seem to vibrate. So this is a bit of a modern, our understanding, it's a bit of a modern invention, but for an ancient practice of other bowls and other instruments.
Yeah, the metal bowls in the past.
Resonance. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pure tone. So when you're recording the bowls, for example, the sound wave that comes up, the digital sound wave, it's a pure line. There's no major distortion. You've just got the pure tones and semitones.
And there's something about the drone sound that
you're hearing it modulate.
You're gonna have to mic these differently. In the future.
Yeah.
But
we'll send you.
They create a drone that just lulls you. It just lulls you into this state of relaxation. So it can help with sleep. It's stress release, sleep, boost your immune system. I mean, Western science is going, it actually does all this stuff now. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting because it's very intuitive for us, but it's exciting to see
the research
that's backing up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's such a different sound experience, right? It doesn't have to be super loud for it to encompass you. Right?
That's exactly it.
And one of my favorite parts of going to a concert, I don't know about yourself, but like it's that encompassing feeling. Like you're completely immersed in the music. It's similar to that, but it's done at such a different volume You know, it doesn't have to be super loud. It doesn't have to be the bass that moves your heart. It's encompassing. I don't know. It's really neat. It's a really neat experience.
I find it's embodying, you know, like it embodies.
That's a great word for it.
It's a hug.
Like
it's hug.
Like it embodies, you know, like when you go to a concert and you hear like the guitar solo and the drum and you just feel embodied, like you're just in your body hearing sound, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, you're not just hearing it with your ears, you're hearing it with your body. Like your body is resonating with it, right? You don't just hear it with your ears, you hear it with your body. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, guys, we're at 50 minutes, so we're going to just kind of hit the end of it. What I do at the end of each podcast is a little thing I call read, watch, and listen. I ask you what somebody should read, something somebody should watch, and something somebody should listen to.
I think it's worth reading some of Dan Siegel's work. He talks about the concept of the window of tolerance and about your central nervous system and what we need to do in order to he's a psychiatrist from the U.S. And he talks about the neurobiology of people and ways of finding, and why it's so important to find ways to not just calm the brain, but the body as well. So I'm going to give a shout out for Dan Siegel.
I'd give a shout out to, well, it's two people, but Jonathan Goldman, real seminal pioneer in harmonics and sound healing. He's a musician, an author, and a teacher. And then also tuning the biofields by Eileen Day McCusick. She's really amazing with what she has discovered about the energy fields around our, physical body, and the way she uses tuning forks to help people. It's really interesting there because it seems way out there, but she is a hard scientist. So it's really.
What I find interesting is I do think that some of the science and the woo are starting to come and meet in a place.
Yes.
And a lot of those types of things, right? A lot of things that seemed really, really. Well, I've never liked that phrase "new age." Anything that was marked with "new age," I was like, I don't ever want to pick that up. I think but I haven't seen that title in a long time because I think that science has started to, really come to meet those types of ideas and see. And see the realities of it, that these things do affect us psychologically, physically, and in all sorts of ways. Those are great. What about watch? Something we should watch.
I think it's worth watching the Sound Healing Summit that the Shift Network puts on.
Okay.
The last couple of years, they have an online summit of all these fantastic sound healers all coming into one place. So Daniel Goldman's there, so many different people. And some of the videos, I believe, you can just watch for free, or you can pay for the conference itself, which is I think it's under $200. But if you really want to learn more about the power of sound, the science behind sound, all the different ways that we can explore sound, then this World Sound Healing Summit, I think that's what it's called.
Sound Summit.
The Sound Summit, on the Shift Network, is really worth tuning into.
Yeah, you can't really top that. So I would say I agree. It's such a jam-packed lineup.
It's everyone and anyone who's into sound therapy and who's been, working at it for years. So you have some people that have really, there's one woman on there, I can't remember her name right now, but she's invented different tuning forks with different frequencies, that she's found has worked over her 20-year career. So these are people that are the pioneers, and then, and it's got that beautiful combination of the science with the sound. I just love sitting down to watch that. It's so good. Yeah. And then listen. I guess maybe listen to perhaps our recording.
Yeah. our to be upcoming recordings.
or like our sound meditation.
Listen to our sound meditation.
Simple sound meditation recordings, super simple with the quartz crystal bowls that we can put a link to.
Yeah, we can put a link to it.
At the end.
6-minute, 11-minute, and 21-minute recordings, so you can build up your home practice. And
I also like David Gibson. If you type in David Gibson sound therapy, he's a guy from the US, and he has a couple of albums out. One of his tracks called Enlightenment. There's another one called The Schumann Resonance. And if you just put the Schumann Resonance one on and put those earphones in and lie on your back, you will have quite an experience. So yeah, shout out to David Gibson for sure. Yeah.
There we go. All right, guys. And where can people check out your stuff?
All right. They can check out our stuff at www.soundresponsewellness.com. And they can find the SoundBody Collective on Facebook at SoundBody Collective.
Yeah, you definitely have some videos worth checking out there as well. And for some read, watch, and listen, there's all sorts of content there for everybody to check out. Anything you want to leave us all with?
That I really think that we create stories in our mind that say, oh, I can't sing, or I'm not a musician, or I can't do this. And it is just so far from the truth. Yeah. You can use sound as a powerful tool in your life, and, do it in a way where you get reconnected, and you get to play, and you get to be creative. And these things are so important for our development as humans. We sort of forget that. We forget to play in connection with one another. We're such a society that is driven to produce and work. So please don't shy away from this because you aren't a musician, or because you think your voice is no good. Keep an open mind and give it a try. Come to one of the SoundBody Collective sound baths here in Toronto, or check out our group at Sound Response Wellness. We're running the group again in May.
Yeah, and certainly if you don't live in the Greater Toronto area, hopefully you can find a sound bath in your city or town, and online. Lots of recordings, listening even through headphones can give you a lot of benefit as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. A friend of mine was telling me in early childhood that they don't do enough unsupervised play. And I was having a lot of skilled problems. I don't think we have enough unsupervised play as adults. I think that we, even when we are out having fun, we put too much pressure on us to, like, even when it's like, hey, I'm going climbing. Well, I got to reach this height. Hey, I'm going to do this. Well, I've got to achieve this. Well, no, what about it just climbing for the heck of climbing? Or, listening for the heck of listening, or screaming for the heck of just having a scream because you need to let it out, let the energy out. Exactly. I think we all need that. I think not everything has to have an exact purpose and an exact goal. Just do something for the heck of it, to enjoy, to relax.
There's a wonderful social worker that I love called Brene Brown. She's got a special. Yeah. You're familiar with her?
Oh, absolutely. I love her.
Rock star.
Her thought about everybody's trying her best. She put something together for me in such an important way, because I always thought in a similar way. Like, I like to think that everybody's doing the best that they can all the time. So I try to afford everybody that. And she has a whole conversation on that I think is just incredible. She did a podcast with Russell Brand, and she talked about all of it. And that's what brought me to her. And then I ended up picking up a couple of her books.
Nice.
But that to me was such a good way of looking at the world, that everybody is all the time trying to do their best with what they have. And I think she's got a bunch of other really great concepts. I think she's a really strong individual and a really great way of looking at things without wrapping it in too much fluff. To me, I'm always looking fluff.
Sorry, I have sometimes I can't see when you're ending. Brene Brown, the reason why I brought her up is because she talks about the fact that we live in like a culture of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And so what are the ways that we can, not be living like that so much, right? Making space for creativity and play and time and connection. So it just struck me. I saw a quote from her. I'm like, oh, culture of exhaustion. Like it sometimes really feels like that, you know, these days.
It's a badge of honor to work yourself to the bone.
To that, like I've worked 70 hours this week. Like that's some of the things we're holding up in this culture. And I think in our own way, we're trying to say, no, this isn't really healthy. Like you need to have time for creativity, play, and connection.
Absolutely. And time to sit, relax, and let sound connect you and bring you
That's
together.
right.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I think we're at an hour. We hit 1 hour. Thank you guys so much for your time. I think I'm going to go sit on my couch for a little bit and make a little bit of noise.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. It was great to meet you, Laura. Great to talk to you again, Nicole. And have yourself a great day.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.